So we're back on Tatooine and Reva arrives at the Lars homestead. They are ready for her with blasters, and then we jump back to Vader and Obi-Wan. For me, I just found this to be, I understand that they gotta do this. They can't just show Obi-Wan and Vader the whole time, but I think in this sort of a moment, it's very hard to have a scene just as exciting and tense-filled as Obi-Wan and Vader fighting when you switch to Reva trying to kill Luke when we all know that Luke is just going to be fine. And I think that's one of the main problems with having, the kids be around is that they're going to be okay. So it's kind of like, the ending before it really starts. Have you come to destroy me, Obi-Wan? I will do what I must, says Obi-Wan. The same line he says to Anakin on Mustafar 10 years ago. As he gets into his Kenobi Clone Wars stance, I really got to talk about some things here. So this is the same stance that he tried to fight Maul in on Tatooine a few years later, until he changed his stance to the Qui-Gon Jinn one a second after that. So this shows, in my opinion, that Obi-Wan is still not as evolved as he will become later on in his life, clearly having learned more from Qui-Gon's ghost and adapting his fighting stance more than his own, showing an elevated level of self. I'm not sure if this was their intention, but I'm drawing the connection here for myself. So with this stance, it means Kenobi is pretty much as powerful as he was in Revenge of the Sith, like when he fought Grievous, where he did this exact same pose. So he's back now and ready to fight Vader. Maybe not as super powerful as he was in Revenge of the Sith, but pretty darn close. Then you will die, replies Vader as he charges Kenobi, and we get them fighting with intense aggression and speed against one another. I was all for it. It was a sick scene, and I'm glad that they used some actual anger and aggression when they were fighting each other. Keep in mind, this is Vader's body. He's immobile, and this is really pushing his bad, outdated cybernetics to the absolute limit, as Sidious gave him the literal worst mechanics in order to subdue him and punish him for losing to Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafar. Now, in the old Legends books, which I know is Legends, Vader was so immobile that he couldn't even raise his hands over his head. So all of this is a stretch for him, all these movements. In the Brotherhood novel, which is canon, it explains Anakin's new robotic hand lags a lot behind his organic one. So I can only imagine how Vader feels here. They get back to back like in their training flashback scene on Coruscant. A lot of their fights are still mimicking their training as Anakin and Obi-Wan did in the good old days. And it's a nice connection, showing, what was and what now is, while still using their choreography, showing that, these are still the same two guys. And I think this episode in particular did a great job of connecting Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader, and showing that he is quite pathetic. Kenobi and Vader go at it, shredding rocks with their sabers, throwing boulders at each other with the Force, as Kenobi drops a massive stone on Vader, who only shows him up in the Force by tossing it aside. It seems whatever Vader lacks physically, he makes up for in the Force. He performs a Hulk smash with the Force breaking the floor as he gets the high ground on Kenobi, throwing boulder after boulder upon him, trapping Obi-Wan. Thinking he's dead, Vader calls him Master one more time before they meet again, probably on the Death Star. That is until they maybe fight in a Kenobi Season 2, who knows, I don't know. Reva fist fights Owen and Beru as Luke gets away running into the desert. She's pretty injured at this moment, and how she's alive really just surpasses my understanding. I don't think it's logical at all, but hey, carry on. Reva chases him through the desert. Hopefully Luke didn't see her lightsaber when he was climbing the ladder. It would really change things for A New Hope when he does see his father's lightsaber as Obi-Wan gives it to him. I checked back a few times and I don't think Luke actually saw it. Maybe he saw the red glow, but, well, he's 10 years old and, how much do we really remember when we were 10? But this is a pretty traumatic event. Obi-Wan has a hard time as he's collapsing under the pressure of the boulders. When he hears voices of Anakin from their duel on Mustafar, then from their training on Coruscant, and from Vader now, all mixed together, he crumbles in defeat until he remembers his purpose, Leia, and his purpose in life now, to protect Luke and Leia, to live for A New Hope. He is the last line of defense for both of them, for the Jedi, for Yoda. This gives him enough power and belief in himself to fight for something important, as he sends the boulders sky high and breaks out of there. Now, I know Star Wars fans in the watch party had an issue with this part as he sneaks up on Vader. I think it's because he's using the Force to stealthily move up to him, but of course Vader feels it. Now, Jedi can suppress their footsteps and use the Force to sneak around. Kenobi is using some of Anakin's old moves, behind the back twirl and spins. He's using Form 3 Surisu. There were 7 lightsaber forms and Obi-Wan was proficient in the 3rd. But he's very offensive here, and that's interesting because Surisu is a defensive form. So this isn't all that much like Obi-Wan, which is pretty cool. It shows more of an evolution in his fighting style and his character. He bests Vader and beats him up, destroying his control box with the butt of his lightsaber hilt, monitoring his breathing, which is now troubled like in Return of the Jedi. With a final jump and swing to Vader's helmet, he destroys the left side of his face, whereas Ahsoka destroyed the right side in Rebels. This is kind of poetic because it shows that their efforts weren't enough to turn Vader back into Anakin, but Luke's was. He was the only one to remove his father's helmet by showing mercy, which, funny enough, is what Anakin said wasn't how you win a fight. Much to learn, you still have. We see Anakin, Hayden's face, as Obi-Wan drops his guard and is brought to tears as he cries for Anakin. Vader says, "Anakin is gone. I am what remains." And we get James Earl Jones' voice mixed in with Hayden's in a sort of computerized, broken Vader breathing voice. It is so haunting. It is so cool. I loved it. The scene is very sad. Obi-Wan tells him, "I'm sorry, Anakin, for all of it." And we remember everything. We remember the prequels, we remember the Clone Wars, we remember all of their times together. This is where I feel the directing really shone through, as we see the reflection of blue and red on Anakin's face from, of course, Vader's saber and Obi-Wan's. But it's kind of going back and forth in different moments as Anakin is speaking, and we see that portrayed in his conflict. This is the conflict between the light and the dark, between Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader. Vader tells him he is not his failure, that Obi-Wan didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. He himself did. Vader did. "And I will destroy you," as he looks sadistic and psychotic. Now, his eyes were blue, and then they changed to Sith yellow. Why is this? Well, I believe this is because he is conflicted. He wasn't fully tapped into the dark side. His feelings for his old master make him weak, as Palpatine says at the end of this, which was so cool to see Ian McDiarmid again. He looks great. So we can tell that Vader is consumed by hatred and Anakin is still here, but he's twisted and turned by the dark side. Obi-Wan says in pity, "Then my friend is truly dead," as he walks away. He knows Vader is no longer a threat and just feels sorry for him. There's no need to kill someone that he's beaten now twice. It's inconsistent with what Kenobi tells Luke to do later, to kill his father, but maybe Vader goes super psycho powerful over the next 10 years and Obi-Wan changes his mind and is like, damn, I should have killed him actually this time. Now, who knows what story they will make for Vader going forwards, but all I can say is, yeah, it's inconsistent, but it also makes sense that Obi-Wan just pitied him and he couldn't bring himself to actually kill Anakin. Now, the scream Vader does for Obi-Wan tops the Maul Kenobi scream for me. It's haunting and it's very full of rage and pain at being beaten and pitied. This is kind of a Goku leaving Frieza on Namek move. So Obi-Wan leaves and he senses Luke is in trouble. Now, how he leaves the planet without the Star Destroyer noticing, I don't really know, but hey, whatever. Perhaps the Star Destroyer went off to find Roken and Vader is in his ship.